So let's start off. The first thing, we're coming out of a CBA negotiation. It was doom and gloom in March. I was more pessimistic in March than I was at any point throughout the offseason last year that we were going to play, but we're playing baseball. And
Hmm.
kind of been the big talking point of these pressers, and understandably so. The first move the Yankees make, a day or two once the CBA had finally been negotiated and signed by the union and by the owners, Yankees trade for Josh Donaldson and Isiah Kiner-Falefa, which became a big theme of this year in Yankees Twitter. Jake, do you remember that trade? And how are you feeling about it now?
Oh, do I remember it? I remember when I first got the notification. I think I like just hopped out of the shower, and I see that Gary Sanchez was traded, and I immediately
Yep.
like said, "Oh shit, Cashman isn't like fooling around this season." Because I don't know if you remember this, but at the beginning of his, or I guess in the middle of the end of the season presser that he did, like much like this one, except for last year, he said that there were going to be some changes made at the catcher position, and he was not kidding. Um, so he ships
Yep.
away Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela, which was a fan favorite. Everyone loved him, and how could you not? He overperformed for the Yankees. He was a great contact hitter. On top of that, he played pristine defense over at third base. And so you're thinking, who could they have possibly gotten? And then you see Josh Donaldson's name in the same sentence, and you're
Yep.
like, oh shit. That completely changes the dynamic of the team, which kind of sounded like a cool thing at first. Because you see, like, all right, Donaldson is like a gritty dude who like brings in some character and something just like a little bit more fiery than what the Yankees had. Like they had a bunch of nice guys on the team as like what they were known as. So like you think they bring in the villain and maybe that gives them that edge that they needed. That's like the light Correa essentially. And
Yep.
he definitely brought in some of that character, but didn't bring in the fire that they needed in the long run. But and then on the other side of that trade, though, you get IKF, and we knew that he was on the radar already for the Yankees for a long time. They were talking about him
They
the
were
entire
so big
offseason.
on him for a long time. Yeah.
I mean, like
And it's
base value, like his numbers were fine, and like he was healthy, he was durable. So I see the appeal there, and he was a fairly young dude. But at the same time, he was coming off of what one season at shortstop, and he played third base and catcher before that. So when you're thinking like we're going to fortify the pretty much the most important essential position on any baseball field at shortstop with a dude who's barely played it before, there was a lot of hesitance and just nervousness coming from this Yankees team.
Yeah, I like at the time, and I still have mixed feelings about that trade overall. Like you said, finally last year, we heard Cash and Boone finally take some accountability. The Glaber shortstop project was a failure. Gary Sanchez, who came
Mm-hmm.
out. I always loved Gary, but it was hard to watch games where they were just passed balls. Bad at bats, bad approaches, and they cut ties with him. Ultimately, Gary, and we'll get to it later, Gary performed worse in his last 2 years than Jose Trevino did offensively. And
Yeah,
forget the defense. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Trevino is a gold glove, potentially platinum glove. But so to cut ties with Gary, and Gio played a great third base, even though some of the metrics didn't love him. But defensive metrics, we'll talk about defensive metrics where they're all over the place. They can give you whatever story you want to
Yeah.
hear, basically. Yeah, we cut ties with Gio, and we go out and we get MVP Josh Donaldson, who has showed some resurgence with Atlanta, Minnesota, wherever he's been,
Yeah.
Cleveland in recent years. And yeah, we're looking for like that grit, that firepower from JD. And I thought he brought some positivity to the locker room. There was some stuff earlier in the year, where he had the run in with Tim Anderson, being overly friendly and crossing a boundary that probably shouldn't have crossed.
Yeah.
But keeping it on the field, I think JD played awesome defense for us. Like and Boone and Cash kind of spoke to that in their presser. It wasn't is he aging? Is he too old?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he showed great athleticism. As a defender, it's crazy that he wasn't even nominated
dude,
for the
and
Gold Glove. I
his
think he
arm
should
is
have won
insane,
the
man.
Gold
Like,
Glove. Yeah,
yeah,
his arm
the
is
way that
nuts, and
he
it's a difference maker.
he makes that throw across the diamond look so easy. And I mean, even like we saw a glimpse of IKF at third base for like a few innings during a
Hmm.
playoff game, and he tried making that same throw and he did not look good. Very like noodly. So like to
Yeah,
see like the dynamic difference between a dude who's like 36 years old making that throw over a guy who's a better supposedly third baseman at the age of like 27, 28 is pretty jarring. Um, so it's hard to say that Donaldson is just washed up at this point because clearly he's got physicality still in his tank.
yeah.
But it's you can't overlook what happened with the bat this year, especially in the postseason.
Yeah, and that's where it got really tough. Just a lot of bad at bats. Like he was really lost there. And with the kids coming up, which like we'll even talk more about the kids later. We're looking at our top prospects. We have Oswaldo Cabrera, who's a unicorn on the field. He'll play anywhere at a solid defensive rate. We saw him in left field make some mistakes because he had literally never played there as a pro, and now we're playing him in the outfield because of the left field situation we had this year. But then we have Peraza, who everyone has said he's an MLB ready fielding shortstop. We have Volpe,
Mm-hmm.
who if Peraza and Volpe both come up together, it's either one of them is moving to third eventually, or we're shipping Glaber eventually, and there's a lot of third base options, and then we have a Gold Glove third baseman IKF, which after years of playing Glaber Torres at shortstop and not really having a real shortstop, now we're trying to pigeonhole this guy into shortstop, and like went back and forth with IKF
Yeah.
throughout the year. Ultimately he's a guy who I like as a person and even as a ball player. Like he takes accountability. There was I think Sweeney Murdy from the Fan yesterday to Boone was talking about how IKF went to the organization after he was having a lot of defensive miscues, in June,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Can you help me get better? I'm making too many mistakes." And the Yankees basically were like, "No,
Yeah.
our numbers say you're doing great." And it's like,
Yeah.
maybe look at your numbers. Like
Dude, that's so frustrating.
and like honestly, he's a gamer, and like you want a guy who's high contact. You want a guy who can give you versatility on defense. Like IKF can play a serviceable short, right? Can he play a world
Mm-hmm.
championship short? No. Like the position of shortstop has evolved past the fundamental that IKF can give you. And even look at a
Mm-hmm.
guy like Manny Machado. Like in our lifetime, Manny Machado is one of the best defensive third basemen that we've seen, right? Like you take Nolan
Yep.
Arenado out of the equation, he's probably the best defensive third baseman in the last 15 years. Just
Mm-hmm.
consistent Gold Glove guy. He wanted to get paid. He played a shortstop for a year, and he was an average shortstop. He's a great defender, but like
No, absolutely.
you don't transfer that over. Like IKF came up as a catcher, like he didn't come through the system as a catcher, but he debuted as a catcher so he can get in the big league, so he can be serviceable. Like
he,
he caught Emmanuel Clase. That was the reason for his one power stroke this year off of back in April,
yeah.
where he finally reached the wall.
Dude.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No,
I'm ranting about IKF
it's just
now,
like
too early in the episode.
no, you. I wanted to let you fucking run on that one. That's great. No, it's true though because like IKF, there's a lot of dynamic aspects of his game that really suit him well as like a great role player moving forward. And I mean, even in the playoffs, like despite playing bad defense, it was just plain out bad. He was
Yeah,
still producing with the bat. He was slapping
yeah.
the ball around. He got what 1 to 2 hits. How many Yankees can you say that for, other than Bader and then maybe Rizzo? He was the
He was
only
one of our
one.
best hitters in the
So
playoffs.
it really exactly, and it's really frustrating that they're pigeon-toeing him in this type of position where he's not a shortstop. He's kind of aware of that, I think, and he's
I think
asking,
so.
"What can I do? What kind of mid-season adjustments can I make?" And the Yankees are just saying the analytics are telling us you're doing just fine, so we're not going to correct anything. That part is really frustrating. because like this
And
is a guy who's like healthy and wants to learn and wants to soak in any kind of information he can get, and he's just not getting anything.
yeah, and like it's so here's my thing with IKF. I want to be really clear on my feelings about IKF is that I like IKF. And I don't think IKF's shortcomings, I mean, his shortcomings are his fault as a player, but you can't be great at everything. I think IKF's damage to this team, and damage is even a harsh word, is not his fault. It's not his doing. It's like, it's the Yankees. It's
Yep.
the situation that they put him in. Because ultimately, like, IKF doesn't project out well slugging. He doesn't get on base a ton. He slaps. He has good at bats. He grinds. He gets contact. He's versatile. He makes fundamental plays. That piece, he is a piece on a championship team. He's a gamer. He's a great attitude. He gives great pressers. I want IKF on the Yankees next year, but I cannot. I would rather not have IKF than see him play shortstop more than 80 games. And it's like,
You
I
can't
heard a
have him
tidbit.
playing
I was
shortstop, plain and simple. I think you're
plain and
yeah.
simple. Like,
Go ahead.
it would really be barring injury, but at this point, with all of our shortstop options, like, if Peraza is our starting shortstop, we'll see. We'll get there and go through those mental exercises and where we go from there. But if he goes down, I'll take Volpe. Like if
Yeah, no. Then
Cabrera.
you have so many options in the farm right now. That's crazy. And like one guy we don't even talk about that often, or like Yankees World doesn't talk about too much. He was kind of in the weights. I think he's going to end up traded because they don't have room for him. Is Trey Sweeney? So
Yeah,
there are different guys at different levels in Double A, Triple A right now that are killing it, and like it's only a matter of time before those guys need to get their actual like opportunity to play full time and get their playoff run and all that stuff. I mean, look at what happened with Pena with the Astros this year. Like it's
that's
the same
insane.
deal.
And like
Mm-hmm.
Pena was projected to be a star coming out of the farm, but it's like it's so disheartening. For
So's
the
Peraza
Yankees
and
have been talking
Volpe.
about
Yeah, like
I know, but the Yankees, we've been talking about our prospects for forever, right? And it's like we have to level set. We're like, no,
yeah,
really, what are they going to be? Like ultimately, a positive outcome is like if they end up like Gleyber Torres, and Gleyber's a great player. He's an all-star level player at second base, but we saw the best and the worst of Gleyber this year, up and down. Like, so how
yeah,
good can prospects be? For the Astros, it can be we're going to give Correa a fake offer so that way our fans aren't mad at us for letting him go, and then we're going to bring in our superstar who performs
yeah.
what 90% of Carlos Correa level, and in this postseason, he's been their best player, like hands down
No,
for the
absolutely.
Astros. It's been crazy. Even when Jordan's been slumping for the last two series, even when Jordan was going off in the DS, Pena every I think every homer, every RBI that Jordan had came with two outs after Pena got a 2-out hit or got on base.
No, the
And
dude
it's
just
like,
has that clutch gene in him. He had, yeah,
and the reason you get that kind of playoff production is because the Astros went, we're going to give you run from April or May, whenever they called him up. And we'll get to that. But, it's tough to put then Oswaldo Cabrera in a situation where you're playing him at shortstop and he's been all over the field, and Peraza the same thing, only making the CS roster. A
yeah,
tidbit that I heard that I think Boone kind of alluded to, and people talk about this a lot when they hired Boone, that kind of Girardi refused to do, that Girardi would kind of throw the players under the bus a little bit,
yeah.
and Boone really goes out to die for his players.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to Talking Yanks yesterday, and they heard, now this is like a rumor of a rumor now, they heard the Yankees internally, and you can kind of get a feel for this, that the Yankees analytics team valued IKF at shortstop higher than Boone did. But it's their decision makers that they were having infighting, and it got to the point in the postseason that Boone looked at IKF, and he kind of alluded to, he was, the moment was kind of eating him up. But that happened throughout the year. It was like IKF's defensive mistakes in the playoffs were the same types of mistakes that he made during the year. So when Boone finally
It was a
pulled the trigger,
microcosm of his season. Yeah.
exactly. So when Boone finally pulled the trigger, I didn't think he would do it because I'm like, if you look at the regular season, he didn't. They wrote him out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumor is that Boone was like, I've had it. Like, I'm making this decision. I'm going off of what I see. Um, which, I mean, that's the manager's job, right? They always tell
Yep.
us that analytics is just information. That drives me crazy because that's not what analytics means. It literally
Mm-hmm.
means analytics literally means I'm going on different tangents here. Analytics literally means analyzing the information
Yeah.
presented. So
And interpreting
analyzing the
data.
information, it's interpretation and application of data. The analytics team,
Yep.
if you just have a bunch of data analysts and these Ivy League grads and these really smart guys who work for the Yankees, presenting the decision making team, well, I guess they're part of it, whoever it is, Boone, coaching staff, whatever, they have to make those decisions. And to not empower Boone to make those decisions until the CS, when we're down 2-0 to the best team in baseball,
Yep.
is tough. You're not putting us in a position to win. So all of my problem, this is an IKF tangent, or it was at one point. My problem with IKF is not IKF. I want him on a Yankees championship team. I think he's really valuable, and he's not our shortstop. And he can't be a shortstop for a World Series winning team. And I don't think that's his fault, because shortstop's a really hard position. Like, really hard. We're talking about shortstop as if it's
Yep.
a given. But when you bring up guys through your
No, it's the
system as
hardest fucking
shortstops,
position on the field.
yeah, when you bring up guys and condition them to be shortstops, you should play those guys as shortstops and not try to move
Yeah.
over a guy who played shortstop functionally for the Texas Rangers because he had a good season at third base in a pandemic year and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a better option. Like, you shouldn't be referencing your player evaluations off of situational circumstances of bad organizations.
Yeah. No,
That's my
absolutely. And
IKF
like
there.
one thing that to just like piggyback on that too. When you look at IKF, what he should be for the Yankees is everything that the Yankees tried to do with DJ LeMahieu his first year. Whereas he's a platoon guy that
Yes.
bounces all around the infield, who's not going to start every day. He ended up starting every day because he's that good of a second baseman, and turned out that he's also a Gold Glove caliber third baseman as well. But that's the type of usage that he should be getting, is when you have needs and you need to, like, just that depth piece that's really dynamic and versatile. I think that's where IKF's best value is, because he is going to provide you with a good AB. Like, he's not going to necessarily walk for you, but if you plug him in at the 9 spot, midway through a game, or, 7th, 8th, ninth inning, he is going to come up for you, and he's not going to be a guy that just swings for the fences and strikes out in 3 pitches. Um, so it's really frustrating seeing him used like that, because he got all this unwarranted hate from Yankees fans. I mean, the frustration was real. I think that was warranted, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't be directed completely towards
Misdirected.
IKF, because he's doing everything in his power to make the best of his situation. But the Yankees are not putting him in a good situation in the first place.
Yeah. And that's the role of
You know,
management. That's
but
the role of
I
roster
mean,
construction, of lineup
I could,
construction.
I don't, yeah. I think with like Peraza and Cabrera, these guys coming up, like, they should be. There's no reason they shouldn't be starting in the infield for the Yankees next year. Cabrera, as good of an athlete as he is, like, he showed that he could play right field and left field pretty seamlessly, but he's not a starting outfielder. Um, and that
Yep.
kind of shot the Yankees in the foot in the postseason as well. So there's little things like that where if you can get them established as your infield, and then you also tell IKF, like, hey, this is your new role, like, own it, like, live up to this, I think he performs so much better.